They said I wasn't family enough to be part of my sister's wedding, but the moment I stepped into the venue, every eye turned toward me, and not because of the dress I was wearing. They thought I'd stay silent. They thought I'd be too broke, too embarrassed to show up. But they didn't know I'd built something, quietly, painfully, in the dark. They had no idea that the girl they laughed at last Christmas was walking in as a millionaire. If this story already got you hooked, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. You don't want to miss what happens next. 2 months ago, I found out I wasn't even invited to my own sister's bridal shower. My mom said it was too intimate, and my name just slipped through the cracks. But that was just the start. A week later, I saw the wedding group chat on my cousin Emma's phone. They made another one without me. It wasn't a mistake, it was intentional. They even joked about how I wouldn't fit in with the aesthetic. My sister, Hannah, the golden child, was marrying some tech guy whose family had money. Real money. And suddenly, our family wanted to look polished, proper, like we were royalty. And I, Aria, was just the struggling one. The arts degree girl who worked at a tiny coffee shop and drove a 2006 Toyota. I was not on brand. But they didn't know I wasn't struggling anymore. What they didn't see was the late nights I spent building an online business while grinding at work. They didn't know I'd gone viral on TikTok not once, but 3 times, and built an e-commerce brand that had pulled in over $300,000 in the last year alone. I kept it quiet. I wanted to see how far their silence would go. And it went too far. When my dad told me on a call, "It's probably better if you sit this one out, you know, just to keep things drama-free." Drama-free? I almost laughed out, so I stayed silent. I watched every post, every dress fitting, every fake smile they uploaded online. And I planned. Quietly. Patiently. Because I knew the only thing better than getting revenge was letting them set the stage for it themselves. And the day of the wedding? I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I booked a private car, wore a custom emerald gown, and stepped in right as the reception started. Without saying a single word, the music stopped mid-beat. Forks paused halfway to mouths. My sister's smile froze like a glitch in a perfect filter. She was standing near the wedding cake, laughing with her new in-laws, until she saw me. In that second, it was like I had sucked the air out of the room. I wasn't supposed to be there. I wasn't even in the guest count. But I walked in like I owned the place. Because, technically, I kind of did. I strolled past the shocked stairs, chin high, heels echoing across the marble floor, and stopped at the center of the hall. The whispers started immediately. Is that Aria? Did she crash this? Is she wearing designer? Yeah. The dress was custom. Paid in full. And the diamond bracelet? That was from me to me when my Shopify store crossed $500,000 in sales. It was my quiet celebration, but now it was part of the reveal. The wedding planner scurried toward me, clearly unsure if she should escort me out or offer me champagne. Before she could speak, someone tapped the mic at the DJ booth. It was Uncle Brad, always the loud one, always trying to keep things light. "Well, look who finally made it," he said with a nervous chuckle. "Didn't think you could afford the Uber." The room laughed. A little too hard. That one stung. Not because of the joke, but because I knew that's how they all saw me. Even after everything, they still thought I was beneath them. I turned slowly, walked up to the DJ booth. And without asking, took the mic. My hands weren't shaking. Not this time. "I wasn't invited tonight," I said calmly. "But I didn't come to fight. I came to thank you. Every snub, every joke, every time I was called the failure, you pushed me to build something better. And now, well, I'm just here to drop off your gift." I clapped once. And from the back, 2 assistants wheeled in 3 large boxes wrapped in black velvet ribbon. On the front of each box was a gold-stamped card that read, "From Aria, founder and CEO of Aglow Beauty Incorporated." There was dead silence. Then someone whispered, "Wait, she owns that?" Hannah's fiancé's mother, the one who earlier called me the artsy cousin who makes candles or something, stood up with wide eyes. "You're the girl behind Aglow?" she asked. "My friends swear by your skincare line." I nodded once, smiled politely, and placed the mic down without another word, and just like that, I wasn't the embarrassment anymore. The shift in the room was instant. Faces that once looked down on me were now turning with curiosity, even admiration. My mother, who hadn't returned my calls in weeks, was suddenly beaming, as if she'd known all along. She rushed over, arms open like we were some close-knit mother-daughter duo from a Hallmark movie. "Aria. Sweetheart, why didn't you tell us? We're so proud of you." I stepped back slightly. "You mean proud like when you told me not to embarrass the family with my silly business dreams? Or proud like when you didn't even send me an RSVP?" Her smile stiffened, caught in the spotlight of her own lies. She looked around nervously, sensing people were listening. You know we didn't mean that, it was just, weddings are chaotic, things fall through the cracks. I didn't let her finish. Mom, it wasn't chaos. It was clarity. You just made it clear I was never enough, until now. As I turned away, I locked eyes with Hannah. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Her perfect wedding makeup couldn't hide the panic. You could have just messaged me, she hissed under her breath. You didn't have to make it a scene. I tilted my head. And you didn't have to erase your own sister from your life just to impress your new in-laws. But here we are. She opened her mouth to argue, but her fiancé, Nate, stepped forward before she could. Wait, you're Aria Collins? He asked, stunned. As in, the Aglow founder? The same brand my firm's been trying to get a partnership with. I could almost feel her soul leave her body. I gave a soft nod. Your pitch emails kept ending up in my trash folder. Now I know why. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Nate looked like he wanted to disappear. And Hannah? She was furious. Her perfect, curated reality was cracking, and I hadn't even said half of what I came to say. But I didn't need to. The damage was done, the entire event shifted. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years started inching closer, asking about my products, how I started, if I could follow them back. Even the photographer asked for a few solo shots, just in case the press picks this up. Suddenly, I wasn't the extra. I was the headline, and as they brought out the wedding cake, I walked to the back patio, leaving the chaos behind, phone buzzing with new notifications. But just before I could catch my breath, someone followed me outside, and it wasn't who I expected. It was Nate. I turned slowly, unsure what he wanted, an apology? A deal? Or maybe just damage control. But his expression wasn't angry. It was confused. Curious. Even a little impressed. I'm not here to cause more drama, he said, keeping his voice low. I had no idea. You don't seem like the kind of person who hides success. I raised an eyebrow. And you don't seem like the kind of guy who marries a woman who erases her own sister. He let out a tight, uncomfortable laugh. Yeah, about that. I've been noticing things. I guess I just didn't want to admit it until tonight. Noticed what? I asked, folding my arms. That your family is different when you're not around. They talk about you like you're disposable. Like your failures make them feel better about their own lives. He looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time. But now I see what they were afraid of. You're not a failure, Aria. You're a threat. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. The guy who married my sister, who had every reason to play dumb, was actually seeing through their glittery facade. But before I could respond, Hannah stormed through the doors, mascara smudged, face flushed with rage. Are you seriously out here flirting with my husband? Nate held up his hands. Hannah, calm down. We were just talking. Oh really? She snapped, eyes blazing. You humiliate me at my own wedding and now you're stealing my husband too. I stayed quiet. There was no need to defend myself. She was unraveling all on her own. Guests began peeking through the glass doors. Sensing the drama had spilled outside. Phones came out. Whispers grew louder. I didn't steal anything, I finally said, keeping my voice even. You gave everything away the second you decided I wasn't worthy of being here. She looked like she wanted to scream, but Nate turned to her and said something that shut the whole patio down. You lied to me. You said Aria was toxic, jealous, lazy. You never told me she built one of the fastest growing beauty brands in the country. You hid that. Why? Hannah was speechless. Cornered, and just then, my phone buzzed. I looked down. It was an email, from a major investor I'd been chasing for months. The subject line said, saw the wedding. Let's talk Monday. Interested in a deal. I smiled, without another word. I turned and walked back inside. Because this story? It wasn't about proving them wrong anymore. It was about proving me right. As I walked back into the reception hall, something inside me shifted. The shame I used to carry, the weight of being the disappointment, the weird sister, the dreamer with no plan, was gone. I wasn't here for revenge anymore. I was here to reclaim my place. On my terms. The DJ, now unsure whether to play the next song or announce a scandal, froze when I passed him. I gave him a reassuring nod. Play something upbeat, I said. Let's not ruin the party. It's still her wedding, after all. And just like that, the music resumed. People awkwardly returned to their seats, pretending like nothing had happened. But the tension lingered like smoke after a fire. I found a quiet corner, sat down, and sipped the champagne I hadn't been offered earlier. Within minutes, people started approaching, one by one. An aunt who once said I'd never make it without a real job leaned in and whispered, we always knew you had potential. A cousin asked if I could help her start her own small business. The same cousin who once told everyone I was delusional. Even my father walked over eventually, his eyes tired and prideful. Aria, he said quietly, I should have stood up for you. I let your mother and Hannah push you aside. That was wrong. I didn't answer right away. I just looked at him. For the first time in years, he wasn't talking down to me, he was talking to me. Like an equal. Like someone who'd finally earned a seat at the table. You didn't have to stand up for me, I said. You just had to see me. And now you do. Across the room, Hannah sat slumped in a chair, her perfect hair falling out of place, makeup smudged, and guests avoiding her like she was the one who crashed the wedding. Her carefully curated dream day had turned into a mirror, and all it showed her was the reflection of everything she tried to hide. As the night wound down, Nate quietly slipped me a business card. If you're open to partnership, he said, you've got my full attention. No pressure. Just respect. I took it, tucked it into my clutch, and smiled. I'll think about it. Because I wasn't desperate anymore. I wasn't invisible. I wasn't the joke at the family dinner table. I was Aria Collins. CEO. Self-made. Uninvited, but unforgettable, and that night, I didn't just walk into my sister's wedding, I walked into the rest of my life, with my head high, my name respected, and my power finally in my own hands. The girl they left off the guest list ended up being the only name they couldn't stop talking about.